Hello, my name is Chris Foley, and I'm the Assistant Vice President and Director for the Office of Online Education here at Indiana University. And I wanted to provide a quick overview of our marketing and recruitment initiatives here for IU Online. Before I start, I'd like to talk a little bit about what our students are expecting in an online education experience. They really build these expectations not upon what they're going to encounter at other institutions, for instance, Penn State World Campus or Purdue Kaplan or Western Governors. They really aren't going to be enrolled at multiple institutions. So aside from simply looking at websites, they aren't going to actually develop their expectations upon different educational environments, so to speak. They'll do that after they enroll, but by the time they enroll, they've already chosen an institution. Instead, what they really are building their expectations upon are their interactions in the other environments in the internet. This could be anything from Amazon to Facebook to Pinterest, Twitter, even TurboTax. Example that I like to give is that if it's easier for you to file your taxes than it is for you to file an application to an institution, you probably have an application process that is far too difficult and certainly not going to meet the expectations of students who are looking for an online education. In essence, these students are not lazy, so to speak, but they don't want to struggle with the technology or with trying to find out the right answers. They are more than happy to engage in and sometimes struggle with the curriculum, but they certainly don't want to struggle with simple things like how to submit an application or how to get financial aid or how to find out if their application is incomplete or who their success coach is. They want all that delivered at their fingertips with the convenience that they would have otherwise and other things that they consume online. So let me talk a little bit about the magnitude of what we're looking at IU Online and sort of how we structure it, because that does play out a little bit in how we reach out to students in the marketing and recruitment environment. So the first thing that we have is we have three different types of students that we work with in the online environment. And it really speaks to the fact that online education is a spectrum of student interaction, not simply a binary, either you're face-to-face or online relationship. It really is a gradation. And that's up to the student on how much they want to involve online education into their program of study. So the first definition, which is probably the most conservative, the one most people think about, are students who are enrolled in fully online programs. We have about 5,000 of those students. They are predominantly graduate at this point, though we are seeing growth in undergraduate students. But they are all about 32 to 34 years of age. And that's been growing quite a bit. That's doubled since the fall of 2013. The second one are those students, the second category are those students who have fully online distance education schedules. So these would include students who are in face-to-face programs, but they're a junior and they've decided that they can take an entire schedule that is online and that helps them with their work schedule or their family schedule, or they want to do an internship or a co-op, or sometimes they want to study abroad. So they just enroll in online classes to free up their ability to take advantage of other parts of their life. That's about 8,000 students, about 8% of the entire student body. And now we start seeing that flip from undergrad to grad. Now you start seeing a larger percentage of undergraduate involvement. And about almost 2/3 of those students are from Indiana, but that means a third are coming from outside. So again, this is certainly geographically a very broad involvement in online education. Finally, there's the least restrictive definition. This would be students who take at least one, so it would be the one that encompasses the most students. It's almost 30,000 students. More than 30% of our students take at least one online class. Here it is definitely the involvement of undergraduate students, more than 80%, and that's a 90% increase, or 9% increase over the fall of 2016. And most of these students are actually full-time as opposed to those students in fully online programs who are mostly part-time. So now, how do we go out and recruit to these students? They have a little bit of a different mindset, they have different expectations, and they have different ways of interacting with the university. As a result, we have really focused on developing a few key strategies as well as some goals. So a few things that really differ here is that we are trying to leverage a single IU Online brand. We do have 7 different campuses. We could have 7 different brands. That's really problematic, not just from a brand unity perspective, not just because it causes a lot of confusion, but in a digital space, you actually bid up prices the more times you have different entities going after the same thing. So if we wanted to purchase an ad through Google for online education, and we were to have to do that 7 different times for 7 different campuses, then we would be bidding up against ourselves for that one AdWord. So if we have an IU Online brand, which is easier to get out in front of our prospective students, it carries the power of Indiana University, but it also allows us to simply buy that name once and not competitively bid against each other for those spots in the digital advertising world. We also, unlike some of the undergraduate admissions offices through Indiana University, we recruit for both graduate as well as undergraduate students. It's a very broad portfolio. It's 116 programs for the fall of 2016, and it's going to get broader as we go through future years. And so it's a really challenging prospect to manage both graduate expectations and undergraduate expectations, and then to even fracture that out by individual programs. So it's a pretty complex portfolio to recruit. We have to build a prospect pool. So unlike freshmen, where there's a pretty well-defined process that students graduate from high school in the spring of their senior year, and then they, for the most part, intend to go to college after their in the following fall. And you can buy PSAT names and SAT names and ACT names, and students have a standardized process through their last, say, 3 to 4 years of college, in many cases, to go through the college search. We actually have to go through and build that prospect pool basically from scratch. There aren't a lot of places we can buy names from. There isn't an educational environment that these students are routinely coming from. Even at community colleges, students go in and out of entering a transfer mode and not. So it may take us multiple tries to recruit a student, and we've got to build that prospect pool from scratch through mainly marketing. And as I've already said, these are not first-time full-time prospects. About 85% of our undergraduates come in with some form of transfer credit, or they may actually have a college degree completed and they want a second bachelor's degree. At the graduate side of things, they are obviously not first-time full-time prospects, and usually they are working adults looking to have a credential that will enhance their career or allow them to do a career change. But again, they're not your typical first-time full-time prospects. They're also multi-opportunity prospects, which means that we have to be in front of them for multiple entry semesters. A lot of times, a student for these programs, they show an interest for one semester, but something happens in their life, or they do their investigation and they kind of put it on a to-do list for later, but they don't actually take action until 2, 3, 4 semesters later. So it's a multi-year engagement in a lot of cases, a multi-term engagement to get these students to finally make the decision to enroll. And then finally, since we are a university-wide office here in the Office of Online Education, we collaborate with the campuses, both their marketing offices as well as their admissions offices. So there's quite a bit of logistical coordination that has to go into place once we launch a marketing campaign, create a lead, and then convert that lead into an application. We've got to work with the campuses in order to capitalize on that. And that means 7 different approaches in many cases, and it can, at the graduate side of things, it can go down to the departmental level, because at IU, in many cases, departments do their own recruitment for their graduate programs. So we've really turned this into a 3-step process of moving a student's interest into action. And so here are the 3 steps, and then we'll talk about each one in turn. First, we want to generate interest. That's that creation of the prospect pool. Then we want to turn that into an engaged conversation where we start to answer the questions and present more information and really make the proposition that IU Online offers a good program for them to show interest in. And then once we do that, we want to really enable them to take simple action. So this, as I've noted before, is not an audience where we can put really cumbersome processes in place because they value their time. They understand what other kinds of services, what kinds of convenience those other services offer, and they want to see that in their online education. If we make it very hard for them just to get information, then they're going to assume that that is just the tip of the iceberg of how difficult it will be for them to complete a degree here at IU. So we really need to start creating the ability for students to take very fast, simple action so that it shows a convenience that hopefully they will also see when they enter the classroom. So the first one, step one is generating interest. So we do this through a variety of ways. We've listed 4 options here that we've kind of put into place. The first one is geofencing. That's where we take a target location, like a community college, and we say anybody within a certain radius of that community college campus will get advertising from IU Online on their mobile devices. Then there's also search engine marketing. This is the way that, when you put in a search word into Google and those sponsored ads come up, they also will generate, and we certainly do a fair amount of that as well. We do behavioral marketing. So if a student goes in and looks at certain items, or they've done a search term or something along those lines that would trigger our marketing campaign, we would also begin following them with these ads and they would display through the various venues and websites that they are following. And then finally, we do a lot of social media. We do a lot of social media with Facebook, Instagram, as well as some LinkedIn work. It's important to note that we're also, the thing about digital advertising, which is the predominant way that we do our marketing, allows us to be fairly targeted in the types of students we are presenting information to. So one of the big concerns that a lot of our university community has is that they don't see our digital advertising. Well, the fact that a lot of our faculty already have terminal degrees, or they're not in the right age demographic, or they're not necessarily in the right geographic location, although they all live close to a campus and we certainly promote ourselves in Indiana quite a bit. Those things would not typically be the types of students that we're looking for in displaying our advertising. So the more targeted we can be, the less we have to spend, and therefore the more efficient we can be in generating responses. To take a look at sort of where we are with generating traffic, for 2017, it looks like we're going to have about 750 web hits to our websites. That's 145% up from last year. Pretty effective. And to put that into perspective, we think that if we got to about 1 million, we'd be comparable to the admissions office of one of the core campuses of IU. If not ahead of it, then we're certainly in the ballpark. So we feel like we're in pretty good shape. We're generating a lot of traffic, generating interest in IU Online. The second step is to engage those people who sign up to be contacted and learn more about IU Online. And so we take that student interest and then we start doing a 2-pronged recruitment campaign. The first one is managed through the Office of Online Education. That's the OOE Recruitment and Engagement section. Then we also start connecting them with the campus of the department. From that OOE recruitment engagement, we start talking to the students about things like admissions and student financial services and onboarding, success coaching. We put them through a multi-point communication stream so that they can learn more about what we offer students overall. At the campus or department, we want the campuses and departments to start describing more the individual aspects of what their program offers and to get them through their individual application process. It's important to note that we use this enterprise CRM, which is Salesforce at this point, to manage all of these communications, as well as provide access to that from the departments and the campuses, so that they can help coordinate their communications and so that we don't stumble over each other as much. We were on track for 9,000 prospects earlier in the year, and we actually did just surpass 10,000 prospects here in December of 2017. So we're pretty excited. That puts us at least 90% up over last year, and we feel like we're making a pretty good push in making progress to do even better next year in 2018. The final one is enabling simple action, and this is probably where we're putting most of our emphasis and resources on trying to improve the ability for students to take the next step to embrace our call to action, so to speak, so that we can turn them from prospects into applicants. And so this is where we've started doing things like we built a new application so that students applying to online programs would have a pretty streamlined process of filling out an application, not have to create an IU account, not have to pay a fee at this point, and not have to really go through a pretty complex selection process to identify the right major that they're wanting to study. At the undergraduate level, this is a full application, and they can do that pretty easily. And as a result, we're seeing at least double the number of undergraduate applications for spring. And so we're very interested to see how those are going to turn into enrolls when the spring semester starts. We also do things in the transfer credit area, as well as making it easier for students to find online coursework. So what you're going to see over the next year is an increasingly prolific number of services that students can take advantage of and get answers themselves, and frankly move themselves further down the enrollment funnel, closer to that enrolled status at their own pace and with less technically cumbersome processes than we might have for a face-to-face student. That means that we've got, for the 2016-17, we had 1,700 applications. That was a very good result for us, but next year we feel that as we simplify these processes further, they will become, those numbers will go up. And with that, I'd like to thank you, and if you have any questions, please contact our office. I appreciate your time.